I'm going to cross to Jerusalem in just a moment for reaction to our Prime Minister's grotesque decision to recognise Palestine in this way and the praise he's received for that from Hamas. You might remember, though, in June we spoke about Hillel Fuld. He's an American-Israeli technology advisor and he's a columnist and an advocate for his country, among other things. And he was due to speak in Melbourne and Sydney at charity events for Magen David Adom, which is a big medical charity. They were raising money to fund new medical facilities in Israel. But he was blocked from entering this country. His visa was denied by our government. He was dubbed as divisive and a risk to the health and safety or good order of our community. It was an astounding decision. And Hillel Fuld now joins me live from Jerusalem. Good to talk to you, Hillel. I followed your case closely. I know you were interviewed by Sharry Markson, and it turns out that Australia's horrible decision to bar you was a turn of good fortune for you, because you were able to beam into those events anyway, and the Iran war broke out and you would have been kept away from your family while they were going through that and stuck in Australia. So you were pleased to be home during that period.
That's right. That's correct. That's an interesting way how things unfolded. But, you know, that was, from my perspective, just the beginning of the moral deterioration. I mean, it wasn't the beginning. We've been seeing this for years. But, you know, it seems to me that your prime minister and your government has completely lost the plot and their moral compass has completely shattered to pieces.
Yeah, that was a clear indication of it. That's why I railed against that decision blocking you at the time and other Israelis who've wanted to come here. But it's really come to its high point now, I suppose, or low point really, nadir from my point of view, with this decision to sort of preemptively recognise a Palestinian state with no preconditions about returning hostages or laying down arms. He says, recognise the Palestinian state and then Hamas will disarm. Have you got any concept of how that might unfold?
Well, clearly, obviously absurd. And it's worth noting, by the way, that if you look at all the countries that are preemptively recognized in Palestinian state, none of them are Muslim countries. None of them are the Palestinians' Muslim brothers. Where are they and why are they not recognized? And the answer is, we understand, the world understands what the Palestinians are and what they stand for. Somehow these governments have completely lost it and they're preemptively going to recognize this, you know, made up state that never existed in history. But you know what? The irony here is perhaps your government should call for the Palestinian Authority to first recognize Israel's right to exist before they recognize them. I mean, let's just say they deserve self-determination and great, give them a state. By the way, they had a state. It's called Gaza. And when we left Gaza and gave them a state, but that's another topic for another time. But the bottom line is they're not even demanding that they recognize Israel. So it's quite clear that this is, you know, like I said, a morally bankrupt move. And it's sad, but you know, as was said before, it's of zero significance because it doesn't really mean anything other than the fact that Israel can now deal with them like a sovereign state with an army and do what we did in Iran and Lebanon to the Palestinians. So in reality, if anything, this declaration is bad for the Palestinians.
Yeah, I think it's undoubtedly bad for the Palestinians. It helps to lock in Hamas in Gaza, for starters, which can't be good for the Palestinians in Gaza. Just give us a sense of the media coverage and the role this decision has played in the public debate. Not obviously just Australia, but in concert with the UK, France and Canada. This must have had some impact.
I mean, these, you know, they're not in an abyss, these decisions, and they lead directly to an increase in anti-Semitism and hatred of the Jews in Israel. And we're seeing this on the streets, you know, of Sydney with that march, hundreds of thousands of people carrying ISIS flags and Hezbollah flags. And this is full-blown terror support in the streets of Sydney. And it's not just Sydney. We know it's LA, it's New York, it's London, it's everywhere. And these decisions, they amplify this concept, you know, that Israel is this aggressor and the Palestinians are this poor, you know, victim, when in reality, Israel's fighting on 7 fronts after it was attacked unprovoked. So who here is the victim and who here is the aggressor? But the lies, they just pile up. And, you know, why do they pile up? They pile up because the entire identity of these people who call themselves Palestinians, the entire thing from day one has been a lie. I mean, Yasser Arafat, the father of the Palestinian people, was born in Cairo, and he established the Palestine Liberation Organization in 1964. What was he liberating the Palestinians from? Because the so-called occupation only started in 1967. So what was he liberating them from in 1964? And the answer is, it's obvious because their charter is online and you can read it. And the answer is every single inch of Israel. They wanted the entire thing, and that's why they rejected countless offers for a state, including the disengagement when Israel handed it to them, Gaza, on a silver platter and said, build a state. And immediately, what did they do? Destruction, terror, because they don't want a state. They've never wanted a state.
There is so much to talk about, and we'll catch up again, Hillel, but just on that point, it also underscores why Egypt and Jordan should be doing much more when it comes to the future of Palestinian people, because they traditionally were Egyptians and Jordanese people. But there's so much to unpack, and we'll catch up with you again. I appreciate your time.